This is Nerd Side Chaps, week 8. We have wrapped up our Agatha All Along coverage. That handsome man you see next to me is not Tim Collins. That is Jason. Jason is filling in for Tim, and he's our special guest this week. And with the conclusion of Agatha, we did realize that last week on October 30th, we reached the 12-year anniversary of the purchase of Lucasfilm by Disney. And so we're just going to address it. It's been 12 years. Have they managed to kill it dead in 12 years' time? That's the question.
It's pretty close.
It's pretty close. We've got some comments. We'll get caught up with those. Tim has weighed in. He goes, the show is significantly less attractive tonight. Can't put my finger. I think we got way more handsome by at least 50%.
Oh, I do too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think Tim has gotten a little delusion. And then what is it? Star Wars was dead long before the acquisition, but any hopes of rebirth are not completely shot. Now, Tim and I both are not prequel fans. That I will say that I'm not a prequel fan, but I believe it was wounded. It was wounded before the acquisition. There was life to be had. I don't know. Barry Allen, Disney has given us one unbelievable scene from Rogue One, surrounded by hundreds of hours of burning alpaca dung. Barry Allen is slow as always early. And then does Disney ever do a crazy IP crossover with Marvel and Star Wars? It would be the ultimate sign that they really are just out of ideas. I think there are other signs, but
oh yeah. I would make an argument that Guardians is a kind of better Star Wars than Star Wars in some ways.
Yeah, Guardians had a very Star Wars feel, but a more meta, more modern Star Wars. Like Disney keeps saying they're making Star Wars for the modern audience. I feel like they already made Star Wars for the modern audience. It was called Guardians.
And it was amazing.
It was amazing. And then, like, when you make Star Wars, just make regular Star Wars. It doesn't have to be for the modern audience. It could just be Star Wars, you know?
I told you I had a hot take. I have a hot Star Wars take. I liked what they were doing with the first two in the new Disney trilogy. The idea of how things are very similar, but they're different because it's different people. And then having the guts in the second one to say, no, raise a nobody. This doesn't have to be anybody special. The Force just chose a different person. Like, I thought that was cool. I love that idea. And of course, by the third one, they just destroyed it. But I thought it started out strong. Like, I think The Force Awakens has some cool stuff in it. Like, and it's a cool idea of, like, things are the same, but they're different. So, I don't know. I liked what they did in the first two.
I think Tim's going to come. He's going to find his way to a photo and try to, because I think that The Last Jedi broke his brain. I think he's still upset about it. But
I wouldn't have written it that way, but I thought it was at least a gutsy thing to try. You know what I mean? Like, to just be like, she's nobody. Like, I like that twist.
My hot Disney Star Wars take, we'll start with the hot takes, is not that the first two were good. My hot take is that The Last Jedi is not the problem. Everybody hates Rian Johnson. Everybody hates The Last Jedi. I say The Force Awakens is hot, steaming garbage. And it's a foundation of crap. And I think The Last Jedi was actually better than you could hope for, building on that foundation. I feel like they did some interesting things. And, you know, I like that movie better than The Force Awakens.
I'll go that far. I think a cool thing that they should have done, you should have Leia driving that ship that destroys the Galactic Cruiser. Like, what a great way for that character to go out instead of just CGI monstering her in the last one.
There were so many missed opportunities, and the thing that we can never forgive Disney for is that they never got the big three and what I consider the big four, maybe five, together on screen. So the big three are Luke, Han, Leia. Now, of course, Chewbacca is part of that. And to me, by the end of Return of the
Han.
Yeah, but to me, by the end of Return of the Jedi, Lando Calrissian is part of that group.
Oh, I would have loved to see Lando.
Yeah, and they didn't even think of bringing in Lando until some backhand thing in the last movie. They went to a gambling planet on the Last Jedi.
Yeah,
and like when they say
that, all that,
I got excited. I thought Lando was coming, and then he should have owned that planet or at least been there. But no, Lando. Here's Tim. What's Tim gonna say? I'm as salty about The Last Jedi as the sand that turns red in the final battle.
That sand is salt.
Yeah, so that's pretty salty. He hates Last Jedi like Anakin hates sand. But
it's coarse, it's rough, and it gets everywhere.
Yeah. So I comprised the list, and this was hard. Okay. I thought I would just get this out of nowhere. So October 30th, 2012, $4.05 billion. Disney buys Lucasfilm. And if you run into somebody who says they weren't excited when that happened, they're a liar. You can't 100%. Trust them about anything else, because I could just set the stage for you. In October of 2012, Disney had acquired Marvel in August of 2009, and the Avengers had just been released in May of 2012. So Disney had owned Marvel for 3 years. The Avengers had just came out. Disney had bought Pixar in January 2006. And the most recent Pixar movie had been Brave, which was in June of 2012. So Pixar was still on a streak, starting with Toy Story and running all the way up through like Monsters University there were no duds. It was all killer, no filler from Pixar.
Wow, what a run.
Yeah, so Disney had bought both of those, and they were flying high. And when they buy Star Wars, and the last thing you saw with Star Wars was the prequels, which, I'm not a prequels fan, and there were a lot of people. Now that Disney has had it, people like the prequels a lot more.
Yeah, the prequels maybe weren't so bad.
Yeah, so like in retrospect, it's looking better. So, but the first thing that happened was Clone Wars had been running on Cartoon Network, and season 6 of Clone Wars got dumped on Netflix because Disney couldn't get along with Cartoon Network, and they canceled Clone Wars. So you're already off to kind of a bad start because people like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Did you watch Wars?
I watched some of it with Abigail, but not really enough for me to be able to comment on it.
I feel like Clone Wars did a lot of work repairing our view of the prequels because it's set in that time. Yeah. And it kind of makes those stories make sense more than they did in the movies. So here's what's Tim. South Park tried to warn us about the acquisition. We were all still high from Avengers and couldn't see it. Hey, you guys get to work. I don't know this around here. The Jonas Brothers. Where are the damn rings?
Where are the rings?
Oh, so let's see. They started. So then October 2014, we've got Rebels season 1. 2015, we had Rebels season 2. So a new cartoon starts. They're not really telling us much about what they're going to do because that's all set during the same time as the original trilogy.
It's all kind of prequel-y.
Yeah. And then the first park thing they did was the Star Wars launch bay. That came in November in Disneyland and December at Disney World in 2015. That was kind of like a walkthrough experience. I guess it's still running. I haven't been
or it was when I went.
Yeah. So I haven't been
since like the Jedi Training Academy.
Yeah. The Jedi Training Academy My son was actually one of the kids that when I got a million pictures because we had the photo pass. But they changed the name of that. It's called like Temple Challenge or something. More tied into what they do now. But so they did that.
The Jedi are bad guys. Wink.
So December 18th, 2015, we got The Force Awakens. And the box office exploded and everybody went crazy. So here's what I will say about The Force Awakens. And I thought that a lot of people, I thought I was in the majority. I think I found out Tim was. I was never a Luke Skywalker guy. He was not my favorite character in Star Wars. My favorite character was always Han Solo. He was cooler. He was smarter. He had the Millennium Falcon. He got the girl.
He shot
first. Don't let anybody tell you he didn't. He did and always has shot first.
100%. Yeah.
So I know they got Harrison Ford back for The Force Awakens. But somewhere between the end of The Empire Strikes Back and when they shot Return of the Jedi, Indiana Jones had exploded. I think Raiders was shot before Empire or maybe right after.
I believe it was before. I could be wrong about that, though.
But it grew in popularity because Harrison Ford still liked Han Solo when they were doing Empire. And he was still taking notes. The part where she says, "I love you," and he says, "I do." That was his line. He wrote that. Like that was an improv. But by the time Return of the Jedi came out, he did not like Han Solo anymore.
No, he begged to be killed off.
Yeah, he went to George and he wanted him killed, and he thought it would be better for the movie. But I think he just really was sick of the character. And watching Force Awakens just lets you see how sick of the character he was. Because I felt like it was a character assassination. So not only does he die, but he's a buffoon. He's lost the Millennium Falcon gambling or something. I mean, he loved the Millennium Falcon. He would never lose. He's run off. He's not with Leia. He's abandoned his son and his, I don't know if they got married or if they didn't, but they formed a family. He's abandoned that. He's still just some smuggler and not a good one. He was a general by the end of Return of the Jedi. You know? So,
absolutely.
I mean, that would be like a general in the Revolutionary War. It would be like John Adams or somebody like, 15, 20 years after the American Revolution, just like being a smuggler, smuggling, trying to get around taxes or something. It's just so silly.
It really did kind of kill like his arc in the first three. Like towards the end, I felt like, okay, he's gonna still have that rebellious side because he's the most punk rock out of all of them. But he's gonna settle down. He's gonna be a dad, or marry Leia, or whatever is gonna happen. And it just kind of undid all of that.
Right, and I feel like they undid not just his arc, but the whole. Leia is still fronting the resistance, which is just the rebellion. But it's like they already won. Why are you like a ragtag group of resistance fighters when you like the New Republic exists?
Yeah.
Why is Leia not in charge of like the New Republic Navy to fight the First Order? Like, why are you the underdog? You won the whole thing at the end of Return of the Jedi.
That's a very good point. Also, I think the idea of it just being another giant galactic force that's taken over the world or taken over the galaxy is really, really stupid. Because, like, Anakin didn't bring balance to the Force. It undoes everything that Anakin did, really.
Yeah. And we'll talk more about how much Disney hates Anakin being the chosen as we work our way through this list.
Hates it.
Yeah, Tim, I 100% commented that just to hear Dan's Mickey voice. Okay, let's all get back to work now. Barry, Force Awakens was just a shot-for-shot remake. Mysterious main character with no known background. They visit a weird space gangster bar. old guy dies over reactor, giant base is blown up, etc. I mean, that J.J. Abrams has no original ideas, I think. Do you think? I mean, I don't know. Alias was okay.
I like Cloverfield.
Yeah. J.J. Abrams is all build up and no delivery. Like he has
lens flares. That man loves lens flares, like you read about.
Yeah, he has no idea where this is going. You know what I'm saying? Like he always sets it up, and that's what he loves. But like, you know what? Do an outline, man. Do an outline.
Yeah.
Figure out what the
that
end
way
is.
you don't get the end of Last Jedi and then Disney being like, "Oh, I don't know how to land this."
Yeah, before you start at the end and work your way back.
Mm-hmm.
But he will not learn that lesson. Like he did what Lost. I haven't watched Lost. That's the thing that I got really behind on because my kids were young at that time.
Yeah.
And I'm glad because by the time it ended, everybody was so angry. I was like, well, I saved myself from that. You know, I didn't get all the. Well, go ahead.
It was okay. I predicted it in the first season. I was like, yeah, they all died in the plane crash. Spoilers.
So, yeah, it's been like what 15, 20 years, but
oh, don't say that.
Yeah, no, we're old. I'm old, but you're old too now.
Yeah, I watched that in high school.
Yeah. So the Force Awakens, they didn't have original ideas. Kylo, the way they had introduced him, he was so impressive when he stopped that laser bolt in midair.
That was cool.
But then immediately, as soon as he took off the mask and started throwing hissy fits where he just smashed stuff.
Yeah, that was stupid.
He lost all credibility as a threatening villain. Like Darth Vader killed admirals when he was upset. He didn't smash consoles. He didn't
throw his helmet. Yeah,
he didn't throw his helmet and smash a console. He like killed a man dead and calmly walked away. That's what Darth Vader did. You know.
Also, Rey being good at the Force simply because she's Rey is stupid. Like that's a big problem I had walking out of it. I was like, no one just figures out they can control people's mind.
Yeah, like, but if the hissy fits and the mask coming off wasn't enough for you to be out on Kylo, the fact that Rey kicked his ass by the end after like no training at all. Yeah, she just like kicked his butt and they flew off. So
I'm reminded there's a scene in the a horror movie that came out this year called Abigail. Did you watch Abigail?
I haven't watched it, but I did see I know what it is.
It's super fun. But there's a line in there. I don't want to spoil anything, but there's a line in there where it's two vampires fighting.
Yeah.
And one of them tries to do like a mind control trick. And Abigail looks at him and is like, "Don't you know you have to have been doing this for thousands of years before you can get to do the cool stuff?" So that's what Rey was just like, "I'm good at everything, guys. I can fly."
Yeah, the ultimate, like just like, oh, I have force sensitivity. Watch this, boom.
Oh, we'll get to flying later.
Yeah. No. God. So the Force Awakens comes out, and I'm a man on an island because I'm not enjoying Disney Star Wars, and everybody else is just giddy.
Yeah,
and then
I was giddy. I liked it.
So, and I keep mentioning the park stuff because this is where the money is for Disney. This is why they bought it. Is not for making movies. The movies is so you'll go to the park. So,
absolutely.
Let's see, this is June of 2016. They do the Star Wars Launch Bay in Shanghai. Now that's another thing. Star Wars has not performed well internationally. I think even the movies, like the Chinese audience, since the originals are from the 70s, they don't have the nostalgia. It's not like Marvel. That's the thing that Disney hasn't gotten the payoff that they wanted, is that it's not big internationally.
Here's a hot take. This also might be a very hot take. Certain governments might not like the fact that people are watching a movie about rebels rising up against an oppressive government.
Yeah, they might not think it's
I'll put it that way.
Yeah. People rebelling against an oppressive government isn't baked into the foundation myth of every culture like ours, you know.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Speaking of which, if you just after this, you should look up the Chinese government ending of Fight Club. It's incredible.
Oh, God, I'm gonna have to watch that Fight Club. Is he not
Sorry,
even like?
We got off topic.
Okay, let's see. What do we got here? I feel like Adam Driver could have acted much better than the role was written and directed. I mean, I've seen him in things. I think he's good.
Yeah, 1000%. He's got a real good dark side. And for the first 35 minutes of Force Awakens, he's great.
Yeah.
When he's catching the laser beams and all that stuff. And,
yeah.
Like, the first 35 minutes of that movie, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to be amazing.
Yeah. But then when the director says,
with like the bloody handprint.
Yeah. When the director goes, now this is the scene when the girl that was a scavenger yesterday kicks your butt. What do you do with that? What do you do with it?
Yeah.
You know? I mean, how do you sell it? And so they got they did the launch bay in Shanghai. So we don't know what that is because have you been to China? I haven't been to China.
I was in Hong Kong for like 24 hours one day.
Oh, hey, were you on your way somewhere else? Where were you going?
I was going to Penang, Malaysia.
Oh, geez.
Travel. Yeah, I was an English teacher there at a camp.
That is cool.
Fun. It was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm.
So after that, 2016, the next film thing they did in September 2016, we got Rebels season 3. Again, Rebels is a pretty good show. Again, that one is not really. I like Rebels because it's not ruining any parts of the timeline. It's interlaced within the original trilogy, and they're not changing what happened. They're just like giving you a fuller picture of it, and they're not doing any character damage.
Changing things in the original trilogy as well.
Yeah. So now that is followed up in December of 2016 by what many, and I think I would consider the high watermark of Disney Star Wars. This is when I regained hope and got my excitement back. Rogue One came out.
I love Rogue One. I still think it's a fantastic movie. The greatest Darth Vader scene I've ever seen on film.
Dude, yeah. When the lights go out and the lightsaber comes on, it's just...
You hear that?
Oh. Yeah. Oh.
And I love there being characters that have nothing to do with the original Star Wars. Like, they're not relatives of somebody. Like, you know, it's a big galaxy. I would love to see what other people are doing in it. So,
and that's, I think, up until recently, Disney was doing their best stuff when they didn't touch any of the established characters. When they got a whole new character, kind of away from the main line, like Rebels was good, Rogue One was fantastic. This is all happening at that same time, but we're not interacting with Luke, and it's good. It's a wide galaxy, and you don't have to be with these same people all the time. So, and I liked in Rogue One, they had a really interesting concept of I forget what the name of the group was, but they had these guys that adhered to the principles of the Jedi, but they weren't
Jedi.
They weren't Jedi. They weren't force sensitive, but they adhered to it like a religion. They were like monks, and I thought that was a great idea. Yeah.
I mean, definitely.
I mean, if these guys are the guardians of peace and tranquility throughout the galaxy, and they have this philosophy that they live by, it would just make sense that other people would adopt that philosophy, even if they weren't force sensitive. I mean,
exactly, like another denomination of it, basically. Like if it were like a church or something. Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. I mean, it went nowhere, but it was interesting.
Yeah. And now I will, like, if somebody jumps in on the live chat, or if you hit me in the hit us in the comments later, I'm sure they've explored all this in depth in some of the novels and the comic books, but the list
aren't canon anymore.
Yeah, well, they've done a whole bunch of new ones since Disney bought it. But I mean, I had to limit the list somehow. I couldn't list all that. And the other thing is, since Disney bought it, I feel like the job of the comic books and the novels is just a hand wave and explain away some of the mistakes they make in the movies and make them better than they really are. So
1000%.
So we follow up Rogue One with Rebels season 4 in October 2017. And then here comes the part where the bottom falls out for most of the fandom. December 15th, 2017, the release of The Last Jedi. And
parts I really liked. The casino planet is boring. I hate all of that stuff. But I thought it was, like I said, I left the theater being like, holy crap, they made her just a nobody.
Yeah.
I think that's a great twist. Like,
yeah, I did. I liked that she wasn't supposed to be anybody. She wasn't tied into anything. You had all these visions that maybe she was. But like, in all the prequels and all these things, the Jedi are scouring all over the place looking for force-sensitive people. So, like, not everybody that's force-sensitive is of some lineage that, you know, is force-sensitive for generations. So, the idea that everybody has to be somebody's niece or granddaughter or daughter, that's just all kind of so the idea that she was nobody was good. I was not thrown off by the idea of Luke as a hermit. Like, it didn't kill me. I didn't like.
I thought that was fun. Now I don't. Here's the issue. There is something gutsy, but I don't know if I like it. Where when you have this great last shot of A Force Awakens, where Rey's handing Luke the lightsaber.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really dumb to start off your next movie by having Luke throw the lightsaber away.
That's too cute by half.
Yeah, that and that's a slap in the face. Like, for like how many years between Force Awakens and Last Jedi?
So The Force Awakens was 2015 December, and it's 2017. So it's 2 years people have been waiting to see what he does.
And you just have him chunk it away. Like, I was like, that's not a good start.
Yeah. I mean, I could get the idea of him PTSD and being traumatized, but that playing the beginning for laughs just takes the air out of all of that.
Yeah. And then you have the Porg stuff, which is.
Yeah. And then we get more of Kylo Ren, my least favorite Disney princess.
He breaks the only thing that makes him cool.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about it. Maybe I don't like The Last Jedi as much as I did.
Yeah. So, like, Kylo Ren, they did it in the Legends books, but I was never a fan of the idea of Han and Leia's son becoming a dark side, becoming a Sith or a Knight of Ren or following invaders. I don't know. It's just George didn't pay a lot of attention to the books, but when Harrison Ford told George he wanted to die, he was like, it's not that kind of movie. He's like, this is not that kind of story. So the idea that their son becomes evil, and it's not that kind of story. This is, an uplifting story where you feel the peril, but you know it's going to work out for your hero. So that totally doesn't work out for our hero.
Also, when you just have the same family members, it makes your galaxy feel super small.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, literally, there could have been anything. Apparently, we'll later find out that they were witches making each other pregnant with the Force.
So, yeah, like you could have one of, so, and again, you go to a gambling planet and do nothing there. And I don't know, did you lose Billy D. Williams' phone number? I mean, what happened, man? Why is Lando Calrissian?
We had to have that important love story. Lando would have just messed that love story up.
Well, and people liked Finn in the first movie. and he was an interesting character with interesting places to go. And they played it up like maybe he had a shot at Rey. But now they have to just, probably international something, probably because he was black and she was white, and
which is stupid. That is a stupid reason not to do something.
Yeah,
so especially considering some of the other choices that they make in this series later on.
Yeah, so you send him on a side quest, and now he's wasted. So, again, The Last Jedi, to me, I didn't know where you were going to go that I was going to like after The Force Awakens. So my expectations were rock bottom. So I walked out like,
that might have been me too.
Yeah, I was just like, well, hey, whatever. So, but on retrospect, it's really, there are a lot of big problems, I think I didn't feel the problems because I hated Force Awakens so bad that good things they did with Rey flew over my head because I didn't care.
Yeah.
Bad things they did with Finn flew over my head because I didn't care because I didn't like the Force Awakens,
But you got to admit, using your ship in hyperspeed is pretty cool.
Yeah.
As a weapon, that was cool.
Yeah. There was, so there was that. And then, and then Leia is just wasted in that movie. Like the first two movies, she's there, and they say their plan was to highlight, the first movie was about Han Solo, the second movie was Luke, the third was going to be Leia's movie. That's retcon. They made that up because they didn't have a plan. They didn't have a plan.
Did not. No,
so
they
didn't. You can't tell me the plan was to center around Leia in the last movie because I know you didn't have a plan. So they just couldn't figure out what
who Rey was when they started. You could tell. Like,
they're just
bad storytelling.
They're just throwing crap against the wall. And so they follow up The Last Jedi 5 months later. Just 5 months later. May 10th, 2018, Solo comes out.
Oh my God. Do you have an hour that I can rant on this one?
I don't got, you can go ahead. Let me know.
This is the first one that I left the theater mad. Like, there were 3 times I nearly got up and walked out. Like, okay, you know me, because we had this when we did the Nerd Champ video on Halloween. I'm a big fan of not having to know everything about a character for me to like them. But how he gets his name, how he gets his vest, for God's sake, is in this movie. Like, he couldn't just be like, my vest looks cool. We have to have a backstory for it. We got to know about the fuzzy dice. There's the robot stuff that is weird. Can we agree that's weird?
It's a little off. Yeah, the robot rebellion stuff is a little out there.
I was just like, am I really watching a robot love story?
Yeah. I'm trying. Did we get a chin scar origin in this also? The origin of the scar on his chin. Did we get that in Solo, or is that just a Indiana Jones Last Crusade?
Oh God.
Because I think we got
talk about Indiana Jones,
but they over-explained everything. Let's see what we got here. Well, we got more comments from Paul Bettany and Emilia Clarke were wasted in Solo. Yeah.
I left with such rage that I didn't even know they were in there. I cannot tell you. They made the Kessel Run seem stupid. How is that possible?
I mean, they had to cross off every little thing that ever happened. And I actually didn't think it was terrible. It's just a bunch of fan service. And it
when
did
they got
horrible.
To the point where to the point where he was like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "Han." And the guy's like, "You're by yourself? I guess I'll call you Han Solo." I groaned in the theater. Like, I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, like he could just be his name. You know, he could just have had that name. You know, it's not that.
Yeah,
You know,
he could have just been called Han Solo. Like we don't
yeah,
have to know why.
and yeah, and so it tanks. I would say a lot of the reason that it tanked is probably still the fans were really mad about The Last Jedi. So they were all out.
Fans
I mean, it's
are
only
still mad about Last Jedi.
yeah, so it's only been 5 months. Let's see. Barry Allen is slow. Solo was the first Disney project where they tried to marry animation, video games, and cinema into the same universe. It was a terrible decision. So yeah, but where did the animation tie-in was?
Darth Maul comes back at the end. You remember he's got spider legs.
Oh yeah, yeah, and he's got all the stuff
from Rebels.
Yeah, all that from Rebels, and then I don't play any of the games, and
I don't either.
That's the thing. Disney doesn't understand with any of their properties. If you're going to do important plot developments that are going to be part of a $1 billion movie, you can't roll that out in a video game or a Disney Plus show that only like
or just bury it in the beginning of a Fortnite game.
Yeah, you know, that's just not going to work, man.
Major plot point. A major plot point for the what is the Rise of Skywalker?
Yeah,
place in a Fortnite game.
I was like, that's not even. It's not Star Wars. It's just like it's so crazy that they think people are going to know this crap. You know, it's just
And so I had to YouTube it. I had to YouTube that and get it explained to me. I don't play Fortnite, but
and you're like, did I miss something? Oh yeah, I did. I missed a big thing. You know.
When they start the crawl of that movie, they're basically like, "Listen, the dead are talking. You're just gonna have to get on board with this or not." Like that's literally how the crawl starts.
Yeah. Oh God. Hey everybody, Dan again from Nerd Jams. You've just finished part 1 of a 3-part discussion between me and Jason about the history of Disney Star Wars. If you want to see the next part, just click right here. And if you want to just see the whole discussion, you can go straight to the live replay of when we had the discussion right over there.